The first time I ever prayed, I was 13. I didn't grow up a devout Christian. Even now, I'm not Christian. I don't even think I was baptized as a kid, unless you count a water birth. But I grew up around enough of it to justify the curiosity. People spoke of God like a close personal friend, a confidant, or a personal favor runner that saw all and was the symbol of the morally just. When I was a child, living in faith was the same as living a fulfilling life. I wanted some of that. I mean, who doesn't? But I didn't really understand what faith meant. I still don't think I do. But I wanted to at the time. So I did what anyone my age would do, not ask an adult or attempt reading a Bible, which I still haven't done. No, I Googled it. It was on my old little track phone, and its ability to use a browser was not great at all. But faith yet unbroken has a funny way of persisting through menial adversity. Or maybe it was just childlike persistence. It doesn't matter. I got my answer. It seemed pretty simple. I Googled how to see God, and the answer, not verbatim, was accept the undying love of the Lord into my heart. Excuse me. And the Lord will reveal himself to thee. I don't think that's an actual Bible verse, but it was something of the sort. You understand. I had no clue what that meant. I just thought that meant imagine him really hard. I mean, I was barely getting algebra, let alone accepting the concept of God or unconditional love for that matter. But I wanted to see him really bad. I wanted to see him. I sort of treated God how Timmy Turner treats Cosmo and Wanda in The Fairly Odd Parents. Anyways, I tried. I tried my damnedest. I did everything I could. I shut my eyes real tight, using every metric of my juvenile conceptualization skills to try and just internalize that instruction and let God in, as it were. I sat there for a couple minutes, which, when you're a neurodivergent child, feels like a long time. Eyes closed, in the dark, on the floor of my bedroom, pleading to him to simply let me see him. Prove to me that you are there. Once I was done groveling at the feet of a god I imagined sat in the pews of a church only I could see and speaking to someone I couldn't, I said amen. I opened my eyes, and from dark to dark I watched the corners of the room where I thought he could be hiding, listened to the silence of my home as everyone slept, waiting, listening. I sat there for some time, watching the dark, listening to the silence. I never saw him, never heard him. I felt betrayed by him, like getting the door slammed on me in the cold, and I never forgave him for that. Second time, I cursed God. I prayed not for grace, but because I wanted him to hear and feel my anger. It was raining outside, and upon my doing that, it seemed to double in intensity. And for that moment, I, I believe, for just a second, I thought he heard me. He must have. But then the rain stopped, and we haven't spoken since. But I always wondered. I always pondered the idea that even though he never said anything, that shouldn't discount his being there. Maybe he watched me the whole time. Maybe I was never supposed to know. And I think that's what faith is, the acceptance of that unknowing, maybe in the literal sense, but wanting so badly to be right in that unknowing, because if you're wrong, then you're very fucking wrong. And it sort of feeds on that death anxiety for me, which is why I can't bring myself to believe it. Death is something I've spoken about at length before on this channel, so I won't belabor you with details, but I think many people think they fear God when really they just fear death or being wrong. Those are kind of in tandem, I think. There's a quote on this topic that I think about pretty often. And it's partly one half of the reason why I'm writing this and recording it. It's from a book. It's from The Exorcist. This is reversed, but it's fine. It's from The Exorcist by William Peter Blatty, one of my favorite books. I just read it recently. Super, super good. Highly suggest. Um, the passage in question um, is between the titular character Father Karras, or Damien Karras, named after the. It says it somewhere in the book. He's named after an old priest. It doesn't matter. Read the book, you'll find out. Anyway, Father Karras is a Jesuit who's losing his faith, and it's partly the reason why he gets wrapped up in all of this. And he's talking to another Jesuit named Tom Birmingham. The passage is as follows. First line starts with Tom. What's the problem? Tom, I think I've lost my faith. Birmingham didn't press him on the reasons for his doubt, for which Karras was grateful. He knew that his answers would have sounded insane. The need to rend food with the teeth and then defecate. My mother's 9 first Fridays. Stinking socks. Thalidomide babies. An item in the paper about a young altar boy waiting at a bus stop, set on by strangers, sprayed with kerosene, ignited. No. No. Too emotional, vague, existential. More rooted in logic was the silence of God. In the world there was evil, and much of it resulted from doubt, from an honest confusion among men of goodwill. Would a reasonable God refuse to end it, not finally reveal himself, not speak? In the passage, Blatty speaks on the silence of God. And I loved that line. I underlined it. I really liked that line. And he doesn't do that to discount his existence. In fact, it through the characterization of the prose actually confirms within the characters the believing of God, or at least his being there. Because I think you could interpret it as him saying, you know, would a reasonable God not finally reveal himself? It's not saying that God is unreasonable, therefore God doesn't exist, because he is a an unreasonable God does not exist because God is a token of reasonability, maybe. But it kind of it, it almost paints a malevolence as a silent God, not a watcher or an all-seeing eye, or you know, a kid on a playset, one with a perfect plan and a will to execute through I say man through humans. It speaks on it more like a keeper of wasps. There's a reason people don't keep wasps like they do bees. They're aggressive, territorial things, angry little things. Some of God's angriest creatures, second only to man. They provide little to agriculture, shy of pest control, like little vigilantes. They cannot be domesticated, and the venom in their sting, while not lethal, granted you're not allergic, is incredibly painful. They are not afraid to brandish it like a weapon, the sting. And they almost flaunt it. And they won't hesitate to use it. That's one of the main differences behaviorally, in my opinion, between wasps and bees. For a bee to strike you is an inherent act of sacrifice. The last thing they will do, oftentimes, is to inflict pain upon the target. So there's a careful choice that goes into the sting to make it worth it, even though, even if in truth it isn't. But they don't know that, you know. It's a defense mechanism. They don't, you know, have a thought in doing it, just like they don't have a thought to pollinate flowers and create honey or any of the other countless things they do. I'm not a bee expert, but they don't choose to contribute to the economy of agriculture the way they do and in such a big way. They just do it because that's what nature molded them to do. Wasps, on the other hand, they don't have to make that choice of sacrifice. They just prick and move. They can afford that violence because it doesn't harm them usually. You can't build trust with a wasp. They won't trust you. They refuse to be domesticated, to be led by any hand outside of their own. It only takes one sting to mold distrust in the whole species to the point where people like me and you just don't interact with them. You see a wasp and you stay the fuck away lest you get stung. Whoops. Even if one, just one out of 100 in a chosen hive chose to trust you, you are so far removed from the idea of believing that it won't hurt you that you will simply ignore it. You'll leave. You'll stay silent. And I think that's how I view faith. Or God, rather. Faith is a muscle that atrophies when you don't use it. But after a point, to attempt rebuilding that muscle would simply break it. From both sides. Right? I got stung for the first time last month. And that's the second reason why I wrote this. It was the day I found out there was a wasp nest under my deck on the fire escape where I like to sit and read or smoke. I wasn't even out there for long. I saw a whole bunch of angry little things flying around and returning to their nest pretty much right under my feet. Kept reading, stayed silent, did not interact. Just kept reading my book. I think it was this one. At the time, I think I actually was reading this. Anyway, I did nothing. I let them be. I didn't even watch them. I didn't need to perceive them as they moved through the world, just as they weren't really perceiving me. Or maybe they were. Well, one of them was. Because I feel one of them rooting around on the hair on the back of my head. Probably looked like home to him. Or a piece of home, rather. Something he could bring back as proof of goodness between them and us. Instinctively, though, feeling a foreign body, I brushed my hand back and swatted him off without giving thought to the consequences. Before I knew it, I felt a searing, hot pain right on the knuckle where the thumb meets the rest of my hand, right in the ball joint there. I recognized the pain before I recognized its source, as most people do with pain. I smeared my hand across my thigh like that. It hurt more than I was expecting. Actually, the camera won't pick it up, but the little thing is still there. But I think that's why I reacted to it so poorly. because I wasn't expecting the pain to be as immense as it was. Although after like 2 minutes, it goes down. Like it becomes more manageable. It just pulses. Nah. But it still angered me, that pain, or rather the surprise of that pain. But I took my hand inside and I handled it how you're supposed to. I washed the venom out. I iced it. I let it breathe. I thought putting a band aid on it would be a good idea. It's not. And after a while, I stopped feeling it. I forget about it. Or at least I forgot about it until I saw it, you know. But even after all that, even still, I was worried that I had killed that wasp in my act of defense. I pitied it. I thought its anger isn't at me, but at my refusal to accept it. If I had stayed calm, maybe it would have left. And I'd have done my part to mend that relationship, maybe on a very small scale. Or maybe not. Maybe that's God's relationship to man. It is one of pity. The week afterwards, I was stung again. Exact same spot. I had done nothing to aggress besides just my being there. It hurt less, but it angered me more. I had the landlords remove the nest not long afterwards because I was upset and I didn't want to deal with it. And sometimes I wonder if it was that very same wasp that stung me on that very same hand, different spot. Who had just finished tending to the wounds that I unknowingly wrought. I wonder if it was that very same wasp who just could not bring himself to forgive me.